Oakland Santa Rita Jail is America's 5th largest. It's a world filled with some of California's most violent street gangs. Here, managing 4,000 inmates is all about establishing control. It's 3 a.m. on Friday night, and C-Team is working its overnight shift. Roughly 60 arrests have come in tonight to be printed, tagged, and processed.
Let's go. We're going to search you right here. Shoes and socks on this side of the blue line. My side of the blue line. Shoes and socks.
Even this late in the shift, Deputy John White and the rest of the team are still on alert in an area where anything can happen.
Let's go. Hands out front of you.
This is Intake, Transfer, and Release, known as ITR, and it's where arrestees become inmates.
We're real careful at this point. This is our most dangerous portion of ITR. We found anything from narcotics, knives, guns. We found everything in these cells after they leave.
The mood is always tense, but tonight has gone smoothly. It's something the deputies refuse to talk about. The Q word, quiet. But as every deputy knows, the later it gets, the greater the chance for trouble.
We're roughly 10 hours into our shift right now. Every minute, every second, you have to be attentive to all your surroundings.
Around the corner in the pat-down area, that vigilance pays off when an inmate makes a move at a deputy. The response is quick, measured, and designed to make one point clear. This is jail.
You have to set the tone because they come across and they're not fully acclimated to being in custody. They don't realize they are not in control anymore. This individual that came across, he's intoxicated. They came across, we attempted to search him. He became combative. So for our safety and for his safety, we went ahead and we restrained him, brought him back to the bag. It happens every night.
Don't kick me, dude.
The alcohol does funny things to people, and unfortunately, this is where they usually end up.
This inmate will sober up in a back tank of ITR. By night, it's a quiet corner for problem inmates. But in the morning, the mood changes radically as ITR transforms into the bustling hub of the jail. There are more than 30 tanks here, and on average, 400 inmates move through here each day. On busy days, that number goes as high as 600. Every inmate on their way to and from court, headed off to prison, being processed or released, comes through these halls.
Gentlemen, make room. We'll be leaving shortly.
Control is key here, but can be difficult to hold in an area where the deputies are outnumbered.
You've got, anywhere from 8 to 12 people on a shift working down here, but at any given time, you could be working with up to 300 inmates.
It's 150. That means it's the last bus before count goes up. So let's get it done. Noise check it.
With so many inmates to keep track of, on busy days, the system backs up. That can create tension, especially in the larger tanks, known as the bullpen. Typically, there are roughly 20 inmates in here. When deputies fall behind, that number rises, and the bullpen heats up.
On a hot day in the middle of July, you open the door, and it's literally like a sauna hits you in the face. You can feel the moisture in the air.
Kind of like when you open up your oven at home after you've cooked something. I mean, the more bodies that are in the tanks, obviously, the hotter it gets in there, the more talking's going on, and tempers tend to kind of flare sometimes.
It's all concrete, and you just sit in there and get hot. The vents stop blowing hot air. It's stanky. People farting and complaining, and next thing you know, somebody say something, and there it go, boom. It's like fire to gasoline. That's all it takes, you feel me?
Open holding tanks are used at jails across the country. With a mixture of inmates all on edge, the atmosphere is tense, and explosions are imminent. Away from the deputy's view, fights can break out at any moment and escalate as other inmates within the tanks become involved.
Stand by, gentlemen. I'll be right back.
The ever-present threat of fights keeps the pressure on the ITR staff. Inmates can't avoid the bullpen, so it's vital that the deputies get them out and back to the cell houses fast.
Does everybody know the rules?
As the day winds down, Deputy Scott Brandon moves more than 60 inmates back to the units.
Right shoulder, right wall, single file line. The second rule. Shut up.
With the inmates unshackled, there is one basic goal: keep them moving.
You want to kind of keep them going in the same direction with a minimal amount of distraction. So if you can get them moving all in the same direction that looks like somewhat of a straight line, then to me you're doing your job and you're getting it done. Because the whole goal is not to get into a fight with everybody you see. It can't run like that. And the long and short of it is these aren't children, these are grown men. So they're gonna act the way they're gonna act.
For inmates, leaving ITR marks the end of a long day. For those returning to cell houses like 34, though, the stress is just beginning.
Get your close gators, close the book. Won't you take a closer look? Close cast the pressure cook. And I'm the peer pressure that the teacher talking about. Toss go up the tier to teach him not to run his mouth. And I'ma run with it.
There are 328 inmates here, the maximum allowed, and just 2 deputies overseeing them all. During free time like this, known as pod time, it's loud, crowded, and governed by a code set by the inmates themselves. Inmates like Chris Card.
It's mostly respect your race. You always try to stick with your race, you know what I mean? In this particular pile, we got the black hole where we sitting at. From this bunk on down, we try to keep it all African Americans. And toward the middle, the other diversities, they break up into different sects, you know what I mean?
It's a separation that is stark and visible throughout the cell house. A racially divided world that inmates say promotes the peace. Yet the racial divide here hides a more deep-seated separation. In this dorm, as with every cell house here, the gangs are everywhere. Every table, every staircase, every phone is territory to be marked and held. Much of it claimed by the dominant gang, the Norteños, who have their own bylaws and codes. Rules followed by former gang members like Lucky.
Everybody has a role, okay? It's like a body, you know? Like everyone has a role in the gang. Everybody does. Because no matter if you're way up here or way down here, you're still contributing something. Say that there's a cell right here, okay? And this door opens 27 times a day. My job is to be in this cell and watch that door. And I jot down every time that door opens. Okay? That's my job. I'm part of something. I am doing something. When you're in a gang, in a Norteño gang setting, it's by law you work out. If you don't, you will be disciplined and you'll be dealt with accordingly. That's the way it is.
The gangs and codes here provide the structure, making it both a jail and a recruitment ground. Though inmates claim that segregation keeps the peace, fights do break out. And when this happens, it's each race and each gang for themselves.
Me, my understanding, all my we gonna rock. If it go down, we gonna rock. Ain't no hands down, no question about nothing, man. If it kick off, man, we finna get on top of your helmet, man. Straight up, take no prisoners, cause you ain't about to, I'm not finna go home in no bag.
Lock down, fellas. Let's go, fellas, lock down.
After 3 hours, pod time comes to an end, and the inmates head back to their cells. It's count time, and the deputies walk through each of the tanks, where 36 men are double bunked behind mesh for the night. They confirm that all are present and accounted for, and perform a final spot check for any contraband. In dorms like 34, the numbers are heavily in favor of the inmates. So for them, lockdown means the night is just beginning, and it's time for a cell house party. A feast of food purchased from the jail, complete with homemade alcohol.
We can't let the police see this right here, baby. This right here, man, knock you on your real bad. Tonight we made the gumbo, oysters, chicken, tuna, rice. We all put it, you know, we eat like kings here.
Up next, hard lessons are taught in the yard. Then, gang dropouts come under attack. And later, another deputy is assaulted at Santa Rita.